Hello, lovely listeners. It's Decentricity here, back with another episode of Myriad of Chains. We have Jean-Daniel Gauthier, my co-founder and also the CEO of Myriad.
Here I
We have
am. Hi,
Joshua
everyone.
Powell. Yeah. We also have Josh Powell.
Hello.
We also have the Sophisticated Ape, Rob, who's also joining us today.
Hello.
Rob, hey. So yeah, we've actually brewed another whole new conversation for you today. So let's pour a cup of coffee or a tea and let's dive right in. So there's actually a bunch of stuff happening on Myriad, and if you're not on Myriad yet, you should be on there. There's a few things that are happening also, not just on Myriad but also on Twitter. There's a lot of the things that are happening are interesting. Some of them are memes, some of them are from crypto, a lot of them are from politics. So yeah, let's start. Obviously, at Myriad, we are very pro free speech, and we're trying to navigate basically the waters of the tech community with our ability to provide free speech for the people. Allow people to host their own nodes, allow people to host their own instances of Myriad as servers to be utilized by communities. So we're really interested in like everything related to tech and everything related to freedom of speech. I'm just gonna start by asking Josh. This is Josh's first name I see here on Myriad. Well, what have you seen on Myriad? What have you seen this week on Myriad?
Well, I shared a few things. If you want to click on that there should be more of a headline if you click on the picture.
The
there.
Picture.
Yeah.
Here. Yeah. Well, sure. Yeah. It's not
So
a true 7 nanomillimeter. Okay, all right. Give us the background on this, Josh.
Well, everybody knows what Huawei is. It's banned in the US, but for Chinese spyware reasons. But they also don't seem to actually build what they say they're going to build. So they supposedly had a new 7 nanometer chipset in their newest phones, and it was going to be $300 cheaper, I think, than any American one. Which, I think they called it the iPhone destroyer, except that an independent research firm looked at it, and it's a 2015 14 nanometer chip that they're actually using. They just rebranded it, and
it's a rebrand. So it's not really 7 nanometers.
Like it's an internal rebrand. Like they just ripped off the chip and then internally printed, like they printed on it that what they said it was. It just doesn't actually that thing if you look at it.
So,
is that even allowed?
I mean, not anywhere outside of China. So
there is one thing that not all our viewers might get. It's like what is it? Why is it important that it's 7 nanometers or 14 nanometers? Like what the technological reason that it would kill iPhones and stuff like that?
I don't know if I'm the
They're not
best
allowed
person
to use anything under 14 nanometers. Like so the chip fabricators for phones. Like correct me if I'm wrong, guys. Like I haven't been in this industry for a while, but like when I was working at IBM, I was directly talking to like the chip manufacturers and the fabricators, right? So the Taiwan actually leads semiconductor research and fabrication, and they're the only country that's able to create like a sub 4. I think it was sub 14 last time I checked. I don't know if it's still sub 14 nanometers. And they're the only company that actually has that ability to create. Now, the thing is, like, they have a long-standing deal with the U.S. And there's because of issues related to Chinese spyware, like Josh mentioned, like the Chinese are forbidden to actually use something that's like lower than 14. So them getting 14 nanometer technology is actually a big deal. Because they basically countered, like they managed to get around that ban, but not if they're lying.
Wasn't the 7?
sort of like
Isn't the
background.
7 better performance and lower power consumption?
Yeah. Yes.
Just think of it.
That's why.
You can fit more cores on a 7 nanometer
Yeah,
chipset than you can,
Then a 14.
obviously
Yes,
double.
yes.
Yeah.
right. So
So
they're
yeah,
faster and require less energy.
basically that the
Yeah.
size of the component you can pack more on a processor. So since you can pack more, you have more, and
Yeah.
it's also better conduction. So you have less
Yeah.
heat, and if you heat less, then it goes faster for less energy. So it's
Right.
you have all the incentive to actually do it smaller, which is funny because
Right.
if you go too small, it starts bugging because the electrons change track on
Well,
their own.
Oh, because of the
yeah,
because of
because
the
of
quantum.
quantum. Yeah, quantum.
Yeah.
Kind of like. Yeah, well, but like, do you guys know how small we've gotten actually? Like, obviously 7 nanometers is not the smallest we've gotten. Chip fabricators, IBM has a 2 nanometer chip, 2 nanometers.
Mm.
And they are and that's like 2 or 3 years ago. Like I think that was before COVID they released it. And IBM also mentions that they're actually developing sub 1,
Oh
smaller than
my.
1 nanometers. So they are getting around that. Like obviously they also have like a lot of like materials research for their quantum computing. They have the leading like quantum computer in the whole world, right? So IBM does have the ability, and I used to work there, so I know they have the ability and like they have the wherewithal to actually do that.
So
Yeah.
for reference,
I just googled it and they said there was the sub 1 nanometer chipset for general release is on a 2036 roadmap. So that gives you like an idea of where.
2036.
yeah.
Cool.
Just for reference, like so everybody can know like how small these things are. A human hair, the width of a human hair is between 80,000 and 100,000 nanometers. So
Wow. Much smaller
it's very
than a human
very
hair.
freaking small.
Well, they say with the 2 nanometer chip, they could put 50 billion transistors on the size of a space no bigger than your fingernail, is what I'm reading.
Oh wow. Yeah.
Which astronomical numbers on our fingertips, like we really do live in the future.
Well, yeah, I mean our culture, right? Like sort of like focused on that to like there's this novel I read it's called Seven Eves by Neil Stevenson, the guy who coined the term metaverse. And it's like it's far future, like after like an apocalypse and humanity's rebuilt. But we rebuilt in a totally different way. Instead of like focusing on miniaturization, we focused on macro stuff. Basically, we focused on space. So we have um what are those called? I forgot. Like those tethers to space elevators. Yeah, we have space elevators. We have all that, like all the possible things that we just don't do now. Because civilization decided to focus on not miniaturization but macro stuff, like space stuff. So I think it's because of like our civilization focusing on this. This is what we're focusing on, and Moloch is focusing us towards this in this.
I think we should go back to tubes.
Issuance of
I miss
civilization.
tubes.
Should go back to tubes. Yes.
Hey, but
Oh,
the
I miss
internet is a
tubes.
series of tubes. We're already on tubes.
Yes.
My I actually
You're
like
dating yourself with that
upstairs,
reference,
my brother
Danny.
has you are definitely.
Yeah, like you
My-
can't already
my
see the
brother
white hair in
still-
my beard.
My brother still uses vacuum tubes for like he's a musician to generate there's like an amplifier. I think it was an amplifier that uses vacuum tubes. It sounds so different. Like that's what he says. It sounds different. Like it's something that you can't really simulate. I don't know. Yeah. Machine learning would probably be able to stimulate it. Would be able to stimulate everything. So
Yeah, see, I imported that there.
Right.
That's the roadmap.
awesome. Context aware no tracks. 2036. Jeez. Jeez. The thing is, like, a bunch of this is directly related to, like, stuff I'm passionate about, basically AI stuff. Because like self-hosted AI, like not ChatGPT, but like a self-hosted AI is like already something I can install on my computer, like very easily. Like it only uses up like 6 gigs of RAM, just and without a GPU. Like my laptop doesn't have like an NVIDIA GPU. And that's now, like in a few years, as acceleration comes like to these like insane levels, we're gonna get like a AI in our, like, as a pendant around our necks very easily. In fact, I think someone already created that, but that's still paired to your phone. But yeah, or our phones will be like super smart, and all these large language models are just gonna dominate. And that's something I need to highlight, though. Like, with the power of hardware these days, I think all of us, especially people who are very passionate about free speech and very passionate about actually fighting back against big tech, we should have hardware. We should have our own self-hosted stuff, and not just like use OpenAI. I mean, I use OpenAI, but like but not just use OpenAI and other centralized AIs. Install your own. Because the tech is there.
So would you say with
Cool.
great power comes great responsibility?
With with great power comes, yes. I just want to note also, as an ex-IBMer, power systems are like the computer systems called power. Those are the ones that are having like the small scale, like 3 nanometer, 2 nanometers chips, if I'm not mistaken. So it's power 10, I think, right now. They're called power.
Right.
Just because I was
so-
curious while we were talking about it, I looked up apparently your brain, if they were put it on the same scale, would be a 0.01 nanometer chipset. So once they get to that point,
0.01.
yes.
Mm.
So once they get to there, then they'll be able to make a brain. I
Really?
mean, you could obviously still make it. You just need a bigger thing than a brain.
That would be a
But
big
Is that
brain
because of all
move.
the synapses from the
Yeah.
the way the neurons connect?
Yeah, that makes sense. That would be that skill. Yeah. The
I mean,
connectivity.
yeah, that's
But that took how many millions of years for nature to evolve, and we're doing this in like in the last 30?
That's insane.
yeah, but we're
that's,
working with the
that's-
0.1 to do that.
It's unnatural.
Yeah.
It's the work of the devil, if you ask me.
We're standing on
Thank
the
you.
shoulders of
That
giant,
actually, yeah, I really like Danny's comment,
the giant of
especially
nature.
since it's like since he has a French accent, it sounds like
It's the work of the devil.
so good. Yes,
The work of the
that's it. So yeah, there's a this is interesting.
That reminds me of
Freedom.
that reminds me of the Adam Sandler movie, where the lady keeps saying foosball is the devil. Waterboy, that's right. Yeah.
All
I
right.
didn't watch that one.
I haven't watched it either. I'm sorry.
What? You've been watching every Adam Sandler movie several times over? What's wrong with you?
No,
Yeah.
I don't really like Adam Sandler. I'm sorry. I mean,
He's a national treasure. How
like
dare
some
you?
of, I'm not sorry. I prefer the works of who's the other guy? Oh shit.
Seth Rogen?
Chris Farley?
Uh
I'm just kidding.
no.
Plus
Nicolas Cage.
Adam Sandler is like an actual like conservative comedian. He's not a comedian at all. Nicolas Cage is like a whole different.
Yeah,
I
that's
know,
that's an
but like
action star.
he's the national treasure. He's an international treasure. Nicolas
Oh,
Cage.
he's
Like,
from
if we're
National
comparing-
Treasure.
I'm
Yeah.
comparing-
He
Yeah.
is actually.
I was trying to make a joke. It's a really bad
Oh
joke.
wow.
I'm sorry. It's a reach. It's a
I
reach.
get it.
It's a reach. I'm sorry. I'm really sorry.
Good.
Like yeah. I should be a
Fair
boxer
enough.
with that reach.
Yeah,
Okay.
that works.
All right,
It
so
works.
we're
Alright.
seeing some wind turbines here, and
Oh yes.
I
wind
want to get
turbines.
into a really heated debate about climate change to see if we get all monkey-like and throw feces at each other. Let's. Who has something to
shit.
say about climate change?
Well,
I ju-
I don't think it's
Okay.
proven that it's happening at the rate, that it's going because of man. I don't think it's proven yet. Like,
It's not anthropogenic, probably, in my opinion. I think it's part of the natural cycle. If there is anthropogenicity, that's not like the main driver, and in any case, it is like exaggerated in most discussions. And that's my opinion. I might be wrong. Other people might be better than me in actually discussing this. But
Well, you do have a background in-
I am very yeah, I do have a background. I'm an environmental engineer, but like my point is, I think we shouldn't censor people who are saying things that are not like the narrative. Like the narrative seems to be that like this is a done deal. Thing is, when okay, so I'm just gonna share. Like I became an environmental engineer because of Al Gore, because of Inconvenient Truth, right? And Inconvenient Truth was all the rage back then. Like you guys remember, this was back when we were
Yeah,
like we were
we
the
were
same
recruit-
age, right?
Yeah, we were required to
It
watch
was
it in high school.
everywhere.
You had to watch it in high
Yeah,
school.
I was not. I don't remember if I was required. I remember someone wheeling in a TV to watch it, but I don't know if it's like I don't know if it's in a school or like I forgot. It might be because of that. And everyone was talking about the book too. Like they imported the book to Indonesia. Like it's in our libraries. Read through that and I was like brainwashed. Like, oh shit, this is gonna happen to us. Like humanity's fucked, and maybe I can help stop this. And I actually became an environmental engineer because of it. And the thing is, when I came in, like when I started school, I realized that a lot of the things that Al Gore said was extremely exaggerated, which is proven now, right? Like because like he was saying that like the polar ice caps are gonna go away, and that like the polar bears are going extinct. There were like 7,000 polar bears during Al Gore's era, like during when he released the book. You know how many polar bears we have now? We have 26,000 polar bears.
Yeah, I love that meme.
Yeah.
When Al Gore was born, there were 7,000 polar bears. Today, only 26.
Yeah, I posted it, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
today only 26.
Yes.
Yeah, it says only 26,000.
Yes. That's and you know
It's
what?
still not
Like,
a huge population though, but
we
But
we
I mean,
have
polar bears are
doing
also some
okay.
of the most aggressive and mean things that have ever existed. Like
Yeah, they're gonna beat almost
per
anything
capita
one-on-one.
per capita, polar bears kill more humans than any other animal.
Really?
Per capita.
yeah.
Yeah.
I per capita of polar bears or per capita of humans? Like
Excluding mosquitoes, right?
Polar bears per
Hey.
capita kill.
No,
Excluding
probably
mosquitoes.
beats it per
I don't know if
capita.
it's animals or if it might be mammals. I think they kill more
Mammals,
humans than any other
probably.
mammals.
Yeah,
any other
because
mammal
mosquitoes,
species.
you're right, Ape. Mosquitoes are scourge, like really, really bad.
yeah. Yeah.
Malaria, dengue fever, and all those. I got both, and
You did?
yeah, I got
How are
both.
you
I
alive?
got malaria
Wow.
and dengue fever. Dengue fever twice.
Oh shit, yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
I was wondering if I had malaria this week when I had the food poisoning. I'm like, what did I get?
It actually feels a
happened?
bit like food poisoning.
I
Just,
thought I was dying.
Well, I'd like to hear from you though, Danny, like from your perspective, like climate change. I know your politics is like sort of like different from the rest of us, but like I'm keen to hear what your thoughts are personally, like without going with without towing the party line.
So to be honest, like I have an opinion that nobody is gonna like. And again, it's as same as you. Like it's my opinion only. I could be wrong. There are things like I've been reading about a lot of insects disappearing, for instance, like a lot of species disappearing. I've also read that species disappear all the time. I've also read, so I'm not actually a naturalist. I'm not actually a biologist. When it comes to climate change, I've seen trends that are alarming, when it comes to rise in temperature, and I can't actually ignore what's happening. Like for instance, like these 2 last years, tornadoes in France. This is not something you see all the time. Like there is something happening to the climate. In Europe, you see there are droughts that I've never seen in my life. Then again, my life is a short lifespan. I don't know about the history, the climate history of the world. So this is something that I really want to deepen before actually forming an opinion, for saying like, is it anthropogenic? Is it not? Is it what is it? There are easy things to think about, like carbon and then greenhouse effect, but I've learned that the greenhouse effect is actually way more complicated than it seems. That it doesn't work like we think it works. That carbon doesn't reflect heat at the same altitude and doesn't actually concentrate the same at the same altitude, different wavelength at the same altitude, stuff like that. It's super complicated, and I'm not a scientist, right?
Yeah.
But what freaks me out is that we talk about carbon a lot, and it might be the origin. I don't know personally. I don't know, but there are things we don't talk about too much. We don't talk about enough that I've actually seen. I've experienced it, and I've seen it change. For instance, urbanization, right? Gentrification of rural spaces. You change all the. Okay, you plant one tree. I don't know how many degrees one tree can drop on how many square feet, but it's enormous, just because it provides shade. I'm not talking about carbon. I'm talking about shade. I'm talking about absorbing heat, right?
I hear you. Yeah. Right.
Yeah, we keep on trading trees for concrete. The countryside, like everywhere in the country I live in, like there is more and more development. For instance, I haven't seen any mass operation to plant trees, not where trees were before, because those operations, anyway, they plant the wrong kind of trees sometimes, and they don't recreate a balanced ecosystem. But planting trees in the cities, for instance, like and going with eco-friendly architecture, with eco-friendly infrastructure, in a way that preserve the balance of the ecosystem. This is when we're talking about environment. This is what I want to see, and we're not talking about this enough.
I agree. I do think that's sort of like the problem of like of you're right, by the way, the species extinction, it's like I think it's about 10 times ancient times versus today. Like there's a lot more species, but you have to take into account we know about a lot more species now compared to species from the past, because free species, like ancient species, don't leave a lot of fossils. Not all species like leave fossils, right? So there are soft-bodied animals, bacteria, also like stuff that are there that we couldn't have seen. So it skews the number somewhat, right? But I do agree. I think there are more extensions, and I do agree. Like here's sort of like the thing. We should have actually focused on planting trees, which is what Trump tried to do back in 2020, right? Like there's the 1 trillion trees act of 2020, which Trump actually started, and Trump actually, so like I don't know if the Biden administration is still doing it, but and the crazy thing is, back then, because it was so politicized, because like, oh, Trump, this is our lane. Like, you can't plant trees. Planting trees are dumb. Search for it yourself. You just Google you, and like you can even don't have to use DuckDuckGo. Even Google shows it. Trump, 1 trillion trees. All of the articles from back then, all of them from mainstream media, were saying that it was a bad idea. That you should have been focusing on like carbon traps and these things. These wind turbines. So I know I'm
there are other things that
my opinion
just freak
doesn't
me out.
matter, but
it does matter, because the dialogue is super important. But there are other things that freak me out. It's like why aren't there any massive subsidies for green architecture within cities? like where you could actually collect rainwater, when you could actually
Because
have.
the because Danny, because this is the energy companies funding it.
Yeah.
Well,
Because this is
also,
the energy
to
lobby
push back a
actually
little bit on the
transitioning towards this.
to push back a little bit
Yeah,
on the trees
sorry.
thing, there is a if you wanna refresh Myriad there, I just posted it, but
You did?
yeah, there was a published in Nature, in the Nature journal. There's 2.24 million more square kilometers of trees now than there was 35 years ago.
Yeah, that's what I
But
heard.
see, there's this one thing. There is
But
this one thing.
do they cover the same amount of area, or would you
Yeah,
just
yeah,
say
that's
there's more
what I'm saying.
trees,
It's
or is it more
2.2.
area?
It's
Okay.
covering 2.24 million square more kilometers than 35 years ago.
No, this
Okay.
is actually, so this is, I'm gonna need to take a look at the data, but from an environmental engineering perspective, there's a lot more factory trees. I don't know if it's not a common phrase, it's like I think it's an academic phrase. Factory trees are trees that are not natural. They're like rubber trees, for example. Like rubber plantations are actually called, like, they count as tree cover, but since they're not natural, they're not, like, they don't have an ecosystem.
Yeah, pine trees.
I don't know. I'll need to check. And
Yeah,
I'll
yeah.
need to check.
Most of this is from all those. I'm sure you guys have all seen those
But-
those campaigns. You know, like donate $1, plant a tree type thing.
But this
You
is
know, like
this is
like
actually
everybody does.
so sorry, but this is actually not what I'm talking about. This isn't. I'm not talking about planting trees like where there were trees before, which is it's already good. Like you replace
You're
trees
talking
and.
about the reflection
But I'm
of
talking about
the
planting trees. Yes, absorbing the heat, because
yeah,
whether
absorbing the
it's
heat.
caused by humans, same for water, whether it's caused by humans or not, our quality of life is gonna go down the drain if the trend persists. Right? We don't know. I don't know whether the trend is gonna persist, but I do think that anyway, for our quality of life, having stuff like clean air, like air without carbon monoxide, without microparticles, without plastic everywhere, have
Without lead.
without the fucking lead, yeah. With
lead.
rivers you could wash in and drink from without dying. Like all these kind of things, like they are equally important. And instead of focusing on like, is it man-made or isn't it man-made? Like, what can we do right now? The
Well,
Japanese.
I think pollution's
I
a different debate.
I just don't
but-
think so. My take on the whole climate change thing is that I don't know enough to know. I mean, I that's not my forte, so I'm not gonna pretend to be an
Sure.
expert on it. But the U.S. and Europe are the only places where they're actually. I posted that too. That I took that on the picture
Yep.
on the way to work today. But the U.S. and Europe are the only places that are actually reducing carbon emissions. The U.S. has reduced it 7% since 1990, and the EU 27 has reduced it 30% since 1990.
And we've both had major growth.
Yeah,
It's
but the
still
problem
reduced.
the problem is China alone has surpassed its output
Yep.
of carbon more than all of the reductions that the U.S. and Europe have done
Yeah.
combined. And because China's increasing 1.5 to 3% carbon per year output. Like just this year, China's going to open 80 new coal-fired power plants that wouldn't pass
Wow.
1970s emissions tests in the United
So
States.
I think we all can agree that pollution is a problem, but the climate change, the man-made climate change, is up for debate.
I
Like,
think we all
yeah,
agree.
I would even say that part
pronounce-
doesn't matter whether that's real or not. It's we can't. There's nothing the U.S. and the U.S. and Europe could completely. We could go back to the cave.
We could go
back
to
cave
zero and it
people.
wouldn't matter.
Yeah, we could go back to zero, and India, China, and Africa will surpass.
Just not fart.
Will surpass that reduction in about 10 years.
And there is something else that actually really grind my gears, like something I really don't like. It's like, see, like I've told you about these solutions that would like to happen, right? And a lot of countries are like, yeah, we're gonna replace every fossil fuel with electric, like electric cars and stuff. Okay, that's nice. That's a nice plan over the next 30 or 40 years. How do people buy these cars? Like, how do you redo the infrastructure? Is it going to be strong enough? Whether it's needed or not, you know, whether it's needed or not, it's a plan that's like far ahead. And during this, when everyone focuses on this, everyone forgets the very simple solutions, like just having your sink that fills in the tank of your toilets, for instance, like very simple thing that can save a lot. We know that we might have a water crisis, so like what are we doing about it, like practically in practice? And you know what? We focus on carbon, and countries are fine because they don't meet the quota, right? And then they have to pay these fines with whose money again? So it's again the consumer. You're gonna have to buy new cars. You're gonna
Yeah,
have
consumption.
to sponsor new infrastructure, whatever, and fines, right?
That's
What-
that's actually, yeah, and I just wanted to like note that like that's actually the issue. Like a lot of those issues are actually things that people are trying to like it's not malicious. Like a bunch of those issues are coming from a place of good. Like they're trying to, like, for example, right? Carbon credits. There's a bunch of stuff that happened with carbon credits that actually shows that it wasn't a really good system. Like a lot of people actually just a lot of companies basically just ended up like polluting like developing nations like Indonesia, and just selling like because they can just buy carbon credits from somewhere else, and that trade is actually really bad, because like if it's the reduction of carbon, right? So theoretically, you can just go, if you have a company, you can just increase the number of carbon produced, and then you reduce it,
To
and you
look
still
better.
get carbon credits. No,
Yeah,
not to look better, to get money, to get actual money.
To get money.
There's a trick to it. You can hack carbon credits, but
Yeah,
you
there's
increase it first.
there were
The reduction
companies
pays more.
there's a YouTube documentary out there. I'll import it later, but it talks about
Sure.
how there were companies started in Canada specifically, in Iceland, Canada and Iceland. There were manufacturing companies that never actually had any manufacturing facilities that just got allotted carbon credits, so then they could sell the
Right.
carbon credits to other places.
Just wait. We don't have a lot of time left, so I'm just gonna give you guys. Here's the thing. Everything Danny said, that has nothing to do. Zero to do with climate change. A lot of the discussions around climate change seem to think that people who are speaking out against climate alarmism are people who don't care about the environment, are people who don't care that our countrysides are getting dirty, are people who don't care that like we're getting more pollution. We're not those people. We are against, like, a lot of people who are against climate alarmism are against the fact that it's so focused on carbon and so focused on the climate change aspect of it, and not really focused on, for example, lead poisoning. Like that's not a problem in the US anymore. It's still a problem in Indonesia. In other industrial air pollutants. Like there are days here in Indonesia that I can't even go out because I have asthma, and air quality is so bad, and that doesn't calculate carbon. That's not a carbon calculation. Most of these air quality monitoring tools are monitoring how much what's it called, particulates are in the air, not carbon. Right. So Danny and us and a lot of like a lot of like the conservatives, like I hate saying this, like it's not, the environment is not a conservative versus liberal thing. No, the environment, one part of it, the push towards climate change and climate alarmism, that's lefty. But wanting clean air, clean water, clean skies, that's nonpartisan. That's nonpartisan.
I would just like to add that I'm a man-made climate change skeptic, but I have a whole home solar system that powers my house. So
I have a home solar system that does not power my house.
Yeah.
I remember that. Yeah.
It powers part of your house.
It can when it works.
Sometimes when it works.
Yeah. Sometimes, yeah.
All right.
I live in a whole solar system.
But there's all this focus on carbon. Yeah.
I mean,
there's all this focus on carbon, but there's other greenhouse gases like methane.
Not just greenhouse gases.
Just water vapor. Like, water vapor is a great greenhouse gas.
That's a good point. Methane is a greenhouse gas. Methane, water vapor is a greenhouse gas, and it's not just greenhouse gases. It's also like the stuff Danny talked about. Like well, our countrysides are getting dirty. Like we can't see the skies anymore. I've never seen a blue sky in Jakarta. I've been here for months. I haven't seen a blue sky once.
Is this all of a look over there type thing? Like, oh no, don't look at us. Don't look at how we're polluting. focus on carbon and the greenhouse gases. You know what I mean? It's probably a distraction type. Because
I don't know.
we're gonna
I
dump
don't
all
want.
these chemicals into the water and into the air. I don't know.
I don't know. I mean, Danny, like, I think, one of the guys who actually brought up like probably one of the biggest pollution scandals for water pollution in the last 10 years. You know who that guy is? Alex Jones.
Yeah.
They're putting chemicals in the water to make frogs gay.
Yeah, I remember that.
That's actually a real thing. No, that's actually a real thing.
No, it
That's
actually was
there's,
true.
There's a
It is
there's
true.
Yeah, it was true. Chemical feminization, not gay, but like a lot of the frogs are turning female because of like chemical feminization because of things put in the water, and that was actually a huge case. Important to Myriad later on.
RFK
Yeah.
Jr. also his big claim to fame is that he sued the state of New York and a bunch of people to clean up the Hudson River. The Hudson River used to be dangerous just for you to get in the Hudson River. That's how polluted it was. Now it's one of the cleanest waterways in the country because he sued.
A lot of well, he's not a Republican. Like a lot of people are conservative. They're not mainstream.
A lot of the sane.
lefties.
You mean the sane people?
The same people. I'm sorry. Like are actually thinking exactly what you're like. We're the only thing that differs is the climate alarmism. And with that.
Like the Stop Oil Now people who glue themselves to the paintings.
Add a few words before I close this, Danny?
Yeah, something I'm thinking about, and I've always thought. So first, I want to make it clear that I don't have a cut opinion on carbon and whatever, but I know that a lot of people are doing whatever they can to make our future better, and it's all power to them. Yeah. I'm not invalidating any worries of anyone and any concern, and it's great that we're all looking for solutions together. And I think that even from a very capitalistic point of view, if we really look at cutting out our energy consumption, which is absolutely needed, we have wars over it like all the time. Energy, right? We're gonna meet our common goals. Like whatever we do, if we reduce our energy consumption, we're gonna reduce our emission by as a byproduct of that. It's gonna be emergent. And I think as a civilization, we really need to be more frugal when it comes to actually exploiting the planet, because the resources are limited in any case, and the planet is never paid back, and this is not good. Even from a capitalistic point of view, if you don't pay your provider. So
yeah, I get it, but like to that, my answer would be we will never reduce our intake, especially since this year happened. This is 2023, the year of the rise of AI and probably AGI. We are going to consume a lot more energy per person because the standard of human intelligence is now augmented with our access to these systems. So we're going to be accessing a lot more of these systems. We're going to be spending a lot more in energy. And my second answer to you is nuclear. Why? Like the
nuclear.
only way to solve this is nuclear.
Cold fusion as soon as can.
Yeah. I mean, you're French.
Decentralizing the power grid. Yeah, that's why I got solar. I didn't get solar because I think there's too much carbon. I got solar because I wanted to decentralize. I didn't want to be reliant on the central power grid because it's actually pretty unreliable here in Detroit, believe it or not, even though we're in the US.
So, in summary,
we lose power.
Detroit power grid is unreliable. That's fine.
Just think RoboCop universe.
Nuclear.
Detroit's actually worse. I'm just kidding.
Worse than Indonesia, probably. Decentralized power grids should be like a thing everywhere. It's not a thing here, by the way. Like that, I'm gonna tell you about it later. And nuclear is required, and that's how we get green. That's actually how we do it. That's how we reduce the the dirtier.
Next episode, I'm gonna talk to you about degrowth.
The problem with nuclear,
it's not gonna happen. With AI, it's not gonna happen. I disagree. Like 5 years ago, without LLMs, I would have still disagreed with you, but I wouldn't have been able to give you an example. But now I'm disagreeing with you and giving you an example. Like LLMs are that's no longer the future. That's present. AI and AGI. Like 5 years ago, a marketing company wouldn't think to have an AI in employ, right? Like a subscription to OpenAI, right? But now, even marketing companies would like these things, and there's no way to degrow anymore.
Or if you get rid
Because
of
those things are
Chinese
pure
fast
compute.
fashion, for instance, that's gonna be a good like physical stuff too. I mean, at least as balance, you know, like I see it
Get
every
rid of
day.
get rid of the Chinese. Then what?
Chinese fast
There's,
fashion, for instance,
Okay. All right.
and all the
Okay.
kind of fast fashion. To be honest,
Still not gonna have honestly, it's not gonna have an effect, in my opinion. Like that's
Hmm.
that I hate Chinese fashion, fast fashion, but compute is gonna be king.
Is it bad? I have no idea what you're talking about when you say Chinese fast fashion. I know you got to get it out
Oh,
of here,
it's
so I'm not gonna make it.
Shein.
We can save that
You-
for next
you-
time. It's fine.
Linda probably knows. Yeah, okay. Shein.
yeah,
Shein.
there is Shein, and before there were other things like fashion has always been there are hectares and hectares of discarded clothes in
Guys.
some third world countries,
Yeah.
and I can to talk to you
A
about
French guy
industrial
doesn't like
wrapping.
fashion.
Not that fashion. That's not fashion,
Not
man.
that
That's just
fashion.
like
That's not
putting
really
stuff on
fashion.
your body. I mean, like quality, style, panache. There are things to
And-
respect when you talk about fashion, man. Not just buy something and
And with
slap it on.
oh, slap it on. All right. Okay, so that's the
Needs more latex.
That's the last word. Needs more latex. Okay, that's in summary. That's what we talked about. Everything needs more latex. With that, it's your gal Decentricity bidding you adieu. Stay curious, stay vocal, and always stay authentic. Authentic fashion, not fast fashion. So see you later, alligators. Thank you.